Chair recognizes the member for Chilliwack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not supposed to heckle my own caucus members, but I have to take issue with what the member from Langley said about the best beer in the province. I think we all might have a gripe with him over that comment. Yes. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd first like to begin by acknowledging that I'm speaking to you this afternoon from the territory of Lekwungen-speaking peoples, the Esquimalt and Songhees nations. This is my first chance to be able to thank the voters and the community of Chilliwack, and I'm happy to do so. I've been waiting for this moment. I'm awed by the amount of trust that the voters of Chilliwack put in me. I did not think, like my friend from Langley, I did not think 10 years ago that you would have a BC NDP MLA in Chilliwack. I didn't think it could happen. And now you have your first BC NDP MLA in Chilliwack ever. So that's exciting for me just on that level, on a personal level, of course, as well, because I get to sit in this chamber with all you lovely folks and participate in democracy here in the People's House. So I just love to thank the voters for that. That was I'm still in awe, and I'm still just in awe of the voters and their trust in me. I'd love to thank my campaign team. My campaign manager, DJ Pohl, who worked tirelessly on my campaign and had faith when I had none, always buoying me to make that next phone call, whether it be fundraising or to call a voter, and always keeping me going. DJ is a powerhouse. She is the president of the Fraser Valley Labour Council. She owns an elected position with the Canadian Labour Congress. She's active in her own union, the BCGEU, and she works a full-time job too. She did all that and managed my campaign, and she did not skimp on anything during my campaign. We ran a full campaign in Chilliwack, and on a small budget too, but we did it and we made it work, and I don't think I would be elected today if it weren't for my campaign manager, DJ Pohl. So I'd just like to thank her deeply. I'd also like to thank Bryan McIver, who is possibly the volunteer that did the most work on my campaign, other than DJ, because DJ was a volunteer as well. We are all volunteers. And Bryan is an old-time organizer from way back, and he's been doing campaigns for a long time now. He was a candidate himself in Kelowna at one time, but he is a tireless worker on the phone. He is a great person to have the ear of, because he has been doing organizing so long that that he's just a wealth of knowledge. I need to thank my financial agent, Mark Jackson. I am not very good with books or dealing with Elections BC, so he definitely takes the sweat out of that work, and I'm very, very happy that I had him. Of course, I would be remiss if I did not thank my lovely wife of 8 years now, and I'm really appreciative of the patience she has shown me. She did not sign up for this. I did. This was my dream, and I can't thank her enough for supporting me in that dream. She's been very generous with her love in that fact. I'd like to thank my parents. So my parents, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my parents, believe it or not. They were instrumental in me making it to the age of 46 and being able to speak in this house. And I can honestly say I've had great parents and a great childhood, and I appreciate everything they've ever done for me. I, of course, would like to thank my colleagues in the BC NDP caucus. I've never met a greater group of people, very generous with their time, always willing to lend a hand to a new MLA, and I really, really appreciate that. I'd like to thank the Premier for putting his trust in me and making me Parliamentary Secretary of Accessibility. I can't tell you how proud I am to have that title and how excited I am to do the work that the Premier has tasked me with. He's tasked me with doing consultations on upcoming accessibility legislation that the Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction will be introducing. And I'm very excited to do that work. As well, I will be working with the Attorney General and Minister responsible for housing on when we develop or refresh, develop, change the building codes, which is coming up. And so I'm very excited to do that work. I really see that work being part of our recovery. Having an inclusive recovery and having accessibility worked in and at the center of our recovery, I think I'm very excited about that prospect. So during the campaign, I heard many stories from people, and so I would just like to relay one. I know this woman, Michelle, and she works at an oil change place, actually the oil change place I love to go to. And I've struck up many a conversation with her over the years. And what was important to her during the campaign was childcare. And childcare was so crucial to her because she's a single mother, and childcare is so expensive. Even though our teachers shouldn't be considered childcare, our schools aren't daycares. A snow day during school is a really big burden on Michelle and her pocketbook. Either she has to take that day off of work, or she has to pay for childcare, which almost is more than what her wages for that day will be. And so childcare is going to be a huge deal for her, and I'm very proud to be part of a government that is going to bring in universal childcare. Recovery benefit was also very important to her. You know, $500 at Christmas time or even after Christmas, $500 any time for her is a lot of money. And so she was quite excited about us doing the recovery benefit after the election. When we had our first session here, she was talking to me about the recovery benefit when I was talking to her, which is good. So besides the voters showing their trust in me, I've been embraced by the community of Chilliwack since I've been elected. The business community has totally embraced a BC NDP MLA, which is terrific, the small business community. I've been working with them to help them apply for the small medium business recovery benefits. Also, the launchonline.ca program, so that they can set up online stores. And this one, because this is another, this program dovetails nicely into my work as a Parliamentary Secretary for Accessibility, and that's the Work Experience Opportunity Grant. And we're currently in the third launch of it. With this grant, nonprofits and with this new launch, businesses can apply for money to give work experience to folks with disabilities or living with other barriers. And that is really what building an inclusive recovery to COVID is all about. So I'm really excited about that. Chilliwack is a really diverse community. It has a lot of needs. We have a downtown and like a downtown core, and we have the opioid crisis has hit us very, very hard downtown, and during COVID only more so. And so I'm proud of our government having the first Minister of Mental Health and Addictions. It's something that was dearly needed. But we also have farms. So we have everything from downtown core to farms, Mr. Speaker. And coming up, we're going to have agritech grants, which can be so important to my constituents, so important to farmers in my constituency, help them be more productive, give them some money so that they can buy much needed capital and continue to grow their businesses, their farms. I'd also like to just for a moment talk about long-term care. So I deal with a lot of people down at my constituency office that have a variety of problems, and it really connects me with what people are going through. So there's this man named Ray, and he came down to my constituency office. He was in distress, and he lived with his partner for over 30 years. He lived with her in a home, and she's since been put into long-term care and has dementia. And he's having to deal with social workers going back and forth because he's not allowed to visit her at this home. And so my office has worked with him to try and work with him with the social workers. He doesn't quite understand the system, and my staff is helping him out. Maybe I should stop right there for a second, Mr. Speaker, and thank my staff. I have been very, very lucky with the folks I've hired. Caitlin Hickenbotham, who's just a powerhouse when it comes to constituency work. She's teaching me how to be an MLA, really. I don't know how I would have done this if I just hired someone without any experience. So I'm very excited about having her. And recently, Mr. Speaker, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I hired another constituency assistant, Willow Reichelt, who is detail-oriented, loves being given a project and just running through it, where Caitlin's really, really good with casework and outreach. Willow is terrific with coming up with graphics or doing writing, and she helps me with my social media, etc. So that's really good. So for folks like Ray, we've hired thousands of healthcare workers and contract tracers, which are really important because we need to get this pandemic under control so that folks can go back into long-term care homes and visit their loved ones. I also have a constituent that came and asked for a meeting with me, and his mother's in a care home, and he's not allowed to go visit her as well. And this is very, very hard on all of us when we can't visit our loved ones. Many of us weren't able to visit with our families or friends over the holidays, and it was hard on us. But I think it's harder if someone is in a care home and needs help, and you can't go visit them. Obviously, harder. So I'm really excited about the vaccine announcement today. Really excited. There's hope on the horizon, Mr. Speaker. Someday soon we can all be sitting in here shoulder to shoulder, right? And one of the reasons I came here, well, no, it's not. I didn't come here for this reason, but one of the perks maybe is banging on my desk and heckling maybe just a little, just a little. I'm somewhat excited about that. I'm thankful to the Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction for giving me good tips in that regard. So that's about it today, Mr. Speaker. I think I've shot all my arrows. My quiver is empty, and so I will leave it there. Thank you very much.